They do have the Gurkha spirit. They'll fight hard. Could be an interesting night ahead. Nepal not quite ready. They were in the huddle. Now we're underway. Australia getting the ball rolling. A first ever meeting between Australia and Nepal. And perhaps fitting to say that the country that is home to Everest has a rather large mountain to climb tonight. Andy Harper?
Yeah, Simon, nice to get that one out and early.
Had to.
This is going to be a night for mountain range analogies. But it's a great night for Australia hosting Nepal. First time in our code, in our sport. I can't think of many other times when Australia's played Nepal in anything, really. So, terrific night here in the nation's capital. Big night for the Socceroos. Always is when there's World Cup points for which to play. And this team which bounced back, Nepal, from a 7-0 hiding to Kuwait, match day 1, to win against the Chinese Taipei, might give them some measure of confidence coming into this match tonight.
Well, passes like that from Ryan Grant help, turning the ball over rather cheaply. As you saw from our little caption just a few moments ago, we got Kevin Muscat with us in co-commentary as well. Tonight could be a chance here for Australia. Oh, Kieran Jenjong got it all horribly wrong, and it rebounded back off Jamie McLaren. And it was very close to the opening goal in the most embarrassing of circumstances for the Nepal custodian. Maybe a good chance to bring Kevin Muscat in for the first time. Good evening, Muskie.
Thanks, Simon. How are you?
Very good, and that was very nearly an own goal. I thought it came off McLaren, but in fact, it was off the Nepali defender, Devendra Tamang. Looking forward to hearing your insights tonight in a technical and tactical sense, Muskie. Fresh from the coaching ranks with Melbourne Victory, this is a different sort of pressure for you. He's saying nothing, Harps.
Always
keeping his powder dry.
And always a man to keep his counsel.
As you can hear already, lots of noise in favour of Nepal. 100,000 of Nepalese heritage here in Australia, 50,000 of them in Western Sydney. They have their own football association in that part of Australia's biggest city. 25 clubs and some wonderful names, Harps. The Himalayan Yaks and the Gurkha Spurs. Wonderful. See what Aziz Behich can do here. It's just going to run away from him. That
well, mated nicely. You know, Simon, the recent history, going back decades now, that sort of recent history about Australia is all about, you know, the ethnic communities, as we see Mark Milligan dropping the ball beautifully over the top for Aziz Behich. And principally those ethnic communities have been out of Europe. The more modern ethnic communities we don't tend to talk about so much. The African communities coming through, the Chinese Association, as you quite rightly point out, the Southern Asians represented tonight by Nepal. These are great emerging stories in Australian sport.
Ryan Grant's had a tricky opening, giving the ball away once and then fell flat on his backside. Sydney FC right fullback, who's played in every minute for his country since making his debut against Jordan as that injury replacement for Josh Risdon at the Asian Cup back in January. He's made the spot his own.
Well, you have to, just looking at the way Nepal are lining up here, Simon, they're holding a reasonably high line. There would have been some expectation from people coming to the ground or tuning in on television tonight that they'd just drop deep from the start and absorb pressure, not allow any space in behind for Australia to exploit. And so, in some senses, given the disparity and the weight division between the two, it's a reasonably bold approach.
Perhaps they've learned from watching Kuwait in the last international, who probably in the first 45 gave Australia a little bit too much respect, and by the time they brought their 2 stars on at half-time, the game had already gone. Aaron Moy, who's played in Ryan Grant there, was one of the goal scorers. His first at international level in 3.5 years. Harry Suter getting some early touches on his international debut. Graham Arnold's a big rap on him.
Well, you had to feel for the visitors tonight, because as they did the pre-match obligatory shaking of the hands.
Just watch how this develops with Matt Leckie on the right. 3 in the box. He might not need any of them. Still with Leckie and Jackson Irvine, I should say, with the shot. And it's ricocheting around like pinball in the penalty area. Craig Goodwin trying to get a piece of it. And somehow Nepal survive that little flurry. Perhaps more by luck than judgment, but they've turned it over again That's going to be a free kick for the foul on Bayic.
Well, this will be the first test from a set piece, which is going to be bread and butter, you'd imagine, for Harry Suter. But beautiful work from Matthew Leckie. Lovely turn, so sharp to get through once and then twice, leaving Tamang in his wake, and then the ball ricocheting. It's not been a really comfortable start from keeper Kiran, the captain of the team. A couple of fumbles. Australia couldn't profit. It really should have been cleaned up by the goalkeeper, and all the pressure should have gone.
And the pressure is still very much alive for Nepal, and Harry Suter shaping as a towering presence. Looking to get on the end of Moy's free kick. He goes along the ground. Craig Goodwin drives it low. It's in now. Jamie McLaren. It's taken a touch over 5 minutes. And the Melbourne City striker has just his second international goal. And Nepal's resistance has been broken early.
Well, a good variation from Australia. Everyone's expecting the ball to go to 23, Harry Suter. But they go short. Goodwin fires it in. Another ricochet, the third already. This time the Socceroos profit. Keeper again languishing on the near post. Unfortunate for him, great for Jamie McLaren.
Well, as they did in Kuwait, they got the early goal, Kevin Muscat.
Yeah, much to McLaren, Jamie's form in the pre-season with his club side.
Could be in again here. Sorry, Muskie. It's Jamie McLaren again. This one is charged down. Top of the box. Goodwin with the cross. This could be a long night for Nepal, Kevin.
Yeah, and as I was saying, Simon, he's a big part of Jamie's game. He's picking up those positions in the box, and that one there, obviously off a set piece. But for him to be able to be the first to react, gets him a tap in and an easy goal. But those easy goals add up to you're building your tally throughout the season.
He's a real poacher, isn't he? He scored 6 already in this year's FFA Cup, and he was the Johnny on the spot for the rebound off Kiran Chemjong. So a great start for Graham Arnold's team, and they are, as expected, dominating this match already. That's a little bit awry though from Milligan. Bit of relief for Nepal.
Yeah, and all the expectation from that first set piece was that Harry Suter was going to be the target, standing over 2 metres, and you had to feel for Nepal players in the, as I was saying, the obligatory pre-game shaking of the hands. They must have thought they were queuing up to be extras in an episode of the Adams Family. I mean, they would have craned their neck trying to find the top of Mount Suter.
Found a new nickname for him already, Harbs.
Just running off your lead, Simon, as usual.
Here he is, the big man from Fleetwood Town, where he's on loan from Stoke City. Plays under a certain Joey Barton, of course, for Fleetwood. Brady Wright, perhaps a little bit rusty. He's not played an awful lot of football. In fact, that's an understatement at club level for Bristol City. Just 72 minutes all season. He's been suffering with an injury. And those 72 minutes came back in August against Birmingham City. This is Leckie, who's been busy early on, and he's jinked his way past Ranjit, the Nepalese left back, and referee Al-Khatiri will bring them back for a free kick.
Such a feature of Matt Leckie's game as a Socceroo when he plays further up the field than he does in the Bundesliga, starting in a wide position, and he drifts into that inside right channel, picks the ball up, turns and faces the defender or the line of defence, and defenders don't know whether to go with him or sit. Invariably they don't. He picks the ball up, can turn and run at them, and causes a lot of trouble from that position.
Is this going to be the in-swinger from Goodwin or the out-swinger from Moy? It's the former, and Suter was waiting. It's off the bar, off the post, I should say, from Jackson Irvine, who's been close to a couple of goals already. We've not even played 10 minutes.
Oh, another ricochet as well. It is literally like a pinball machine in there. And just to Kevin Muscat's point, again, Muskie, Jamie McLaren, uncanny positioning, just can't quite get on top of that one.
And with Jamie as well, normally if teams are higher, he loves it when teams are a little bit higher because he's got the pace and he's also got he makes great runs to get in behind people and use his speed. But when you're playing against such opposition where there are a lot of people as Nepal are tonight, it's those instances where he's really going to get his touches and his goals and his strikes on goal.
There's a good touch by Sujal Shrestha. He's done well to win it back briefly. Scrapping with it with Aaron Moy. Ryan Grant does clear of Abhishek Rizal, and he's then unceremoniously brought to ground by Ranjit. Just a little bit too quick for the left fullback. Here's Australia's left fullback, Aziz Bayic. He's struggling for game time himself with his club team in Turkey. Perhaps no surprise, Harps. His competition for the left-back berth is Gael Clichy. Tough.
That does make things a little bit difficult. That's a cheap turnover by the aforementioned Aziz Bayic.
Vishal Rai has handed the ball straight back to Australia.
He gets away with that, maybe for now. I sort of hope that the referee gets him in a stoppage of play, because it's just a blatant denial of an attacking opportunity. And there's enough Nepalese fans here. Not going to get a lot to shout about tonight. That would have been one such moment.
This is Mark Milligan, who already seems to be embroiled in a relegation battle with his new club Southend United in the English third tier. Grant short for Leckie. Moy. Australia stringing the passes together at will. This will be no surprise either to Graham Arnold or to Johan Carlin. Milligan. Australia just trying to probe and find the gaps in this rather deep set defence at the moment. Bailey Wright. Encouraged forward by the lack of pressure on the ball. Jackson Irvine did well to ride that challenge from Vishal Rai. Bayic slips on the greasy top. Not the first player to do that tonight. Ryan Grant's done it as well. And now a chance for Nepal to break forward. Anjan Vista, their two-goal hero, but Bailey Wright's too strong for him. Illegally so, though, in the opinion of the referee, who was well placed, Andy.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy from the Socceroos. I don't know that the passing's quite the way it needs to be for momentum purposes, Kevin. The passes are going straight to feet instead of inviting teammates to attack space.
And picking up what you said earlier, Harps, and just watching Nepal, you know, they weren't as deep as maybe anticipated prior to the game. They seem to have a back four that's, you know, middle of the half of their own defensive half, and having a lot of bodies trying to outnumber the Australians with, you know, 5 players in midfield. And when they were early on prior to the goal, cutting out those passes, they had the extra man or two in that area to keep possession of the ball.
Oh, this is risky. Almost turned over by Dines. So credit to them, they try to play out from the back. Nepal trying to play their football. Now they've coughed up a free kick. Scored by Milligan. Keep ball by Australia, which perhaps gives us the chance to bring in Robbie Slater, who's got the pitch side view tonight. What's your early take, Robbie?
Yeah, good stuff from the Socceroos. Graham Arnold's off his bench quite a few times already. He wants the players, you can hear him, he's moved the ball quicker, and he wants Leckie to particularly tuck inside and open that space for Ryan Grant to get down. And you see him going really high and wide early when the Socceroos get possession. But yeah, look, I think he's reasonably happy, but you know, he's up and he wants him to move that ball quicker and try and get it into that front line as quick as possible.
Goodwin's trying to do that. Leckie top of the box. Here's Moy. No way through on the first occasion. And a bit of breathing space for Nepal.
Yeah, they'll grow into the game, the Socceroos. Just a couple of little sloppy moments. And of course, they're going to be a little bit apprehensive in these early stages, despite their dominance, not to get hit on the counter-attack. And even some of Graham Arnold's instructions to his players about repositioning, calling Aziz Bayic to drop a little bit deeper when they're in possession is part of that mentality of just make sure we don't get embarrassed, get put back on our heels because of an error and a breakaway effort on our goal.
That was the closest that Matty Ryan has come to being involved in the action. He's got a clear side to the ball. Could be a quiet night for the Brighton and Hove Albion goalkeeper. They kept a clean sheet in their latest win over Tottenham in the English Premier League. Big win that for the Seagulls. There's Ananta Tamang. He can't pick out a teammate. Bajic. Through Milligan. And right. Driven backwards by Sujal Shrestha. Moy, Bajic hugging the touchline. Goodwin has drifted infield. Moy, plenty in the box for Australia. If they can find the angle. Oh, it's beautifully played by Goodwin. Read the run of Moy. And Nepal can't clear their lines. More pressure looming. Lofted into the box by Irvine. Cushion header by Grant. Brought down by McLaren. Set up again through right. Grant to try and hit the byline, and it's a corner off Ranjit.
Well done by Ranjit, because Ryan Grant's effort to open his body, let the ball roll across, and so that he could face forward, gave him that half yard right on the edge of the box. And he very often capitalises on those little bits of space to hit in a telling delivery, but Ranjit did very well. Number 21 for Nepal.
There he is again, Harry Suter. Let's see if Nepal have planned for the big man from Fleetwood Town. Goodwin's delivery, Suter's up there. He'll get another corner for his troubles.
Well, they crowded him out nicely. It's an extraordinarily difficult defensive assignment. Let's make no bones about it. Goodwin swinging the ball in. It's got dangerous curl on it. And well, they're not going to be able to match him for elevation, so just crowd him out, see if he can block his run to the ball.
Goodwin's come short. Moy, the conventional delivery. Good fist away this time by Kieran Chemjong, who's had a tricky opening quarter of an hour. That's to say the very least. Irvine. 2 assists against Kuwait. Jackson Irvine. 2 good chances to score himself in the early stages tonight. What a roar of approval as Nepal get over halfway. The shape of Ravi Paswan.
And what the Socceroos have succeeded in doing so far is, which is not to be unexpected really, but they've not allowed Nepal to get any consecutive passes. The type of football culture from which they come, and a small-sided football, futsal is a very big part of their football matrix. And given a little bit of space, you know, the likes of Anjan, Bista, Bishal.
Goodwin, a little too deep for McLaren. A little drop here though for Ryan Grant. Potentially for Bajic. Goodwin, Moy, good first touch, took him clear of the defender. Deep back heel by Irvine, into the box by Bajic. Ryan Grant back close, it's 2, and it's a double for Jamie McLaren. Couldn't miss from there, really. And in the sort of form he's in, doesn't seem to be missing too much at all.
Well, typical from Ryan Grant, the number 4. He loves getting on the end and getting in behind the defence as it's lined up. Very, very smart piece of play by the Sydney FC man to head the ball back across the goal. And Jamie McLaren has found that space again. Not home for his second, Australia's second, as is Bajic with the initial delivery. Very clever play from Ryan Grant and a tidy finish from Jamie McLaren.
And much to what we've seen right throughout the game, there was actually one fullback in Bajic swinging the ball in, and it was Ryan Grant, the other fullback on the other side, putting it back across the box. So, you know, all the width, throughout this opening stanza has been from the 2 fullbacks, as we mentioned. And as Robbie mentioned earlier also, it's because Leckie and Goodwin are starting out wide and then bringing their fullbacks inside nice and narrow, allowing that space for, as we said, Bajic and Grant to get forward.
Jamie McLaren has profited nicely from those manoeuvres. Could be a case of fill your boots on tonight. He'd only scored one international goal before this evening in Canberra. That was against Palestine at the Asian Cup. He's now got 3. And he's already on a hat-trick, and he just played 20 minutes. Sutar. Useful touch again by Irvine. Looks in good nick. Here's Moy with a cutback. It's Jackson Irvine. They charge it down this time in the shape of Devendra Tamang. But Nepal look very vulnerable every time Australia go forward. Here's Ranjit down the left. And it just squirms away from Abhishek Rizal. He's going to be the furthest forward Nepalese player tonight. Lovely ball slipped through by Jackson Irvine. McLaren sniffing a treble. Not quite. Scored in every round of the FFA Cup. His Melbourne City team, of course, are into the final of that competition. Could be a big season ahead for him and Eric Mombard's team. Frankly, he'd have been disappointed had he missed the 2 chances he's converted tonight. And that's what being a striker's all about, Harps. You remember well, being a former one yourself, being in the right position.
It's a very, very distant memory.
Here's Lecky, who sneaked in behind, trying to tee up Irvine. Taken away by Ananta Tamang. This is Dinesh Razbansi. Giving the ball away just too cheaply when they do have it in Nepal, which is not too often. That's a good challenge though by Anjan Bista.
Yeah, terrific recovery from Matt Lecky, and just in that little exchange you can see the difference in the athletic qualities of both sets of players in that one little snapshot.
Here come again. Bayech couldn't reach it. Aramoy, deflection. Kieran Chemjong is grateful to see that one deflect behind for another corner.
But what a joy it is, even just 20 minutes in, to be watching Aaron Moy in the flesh again. He's such a clever player. Another ricochet to protect the Nepal goal.
Harry Suter got on the end of the last corner delivery from Goodwin on this side. Let's see if he can do so again. He does. He scored on international debut. Harry Suter, remember the name, from Fleetwood Town. And his mum Heather, born in WA, will be super proud at this very moment. He grew up supporting Australia. His brother plays for Scotland. He's just scored his first international goal for the green and gold.
Well, you're compounding the problem. They were doing well against Harry Suter when they surrounded him. And they're sort of in the proximity, the Nepal defenders, but they're not nearly tight enough. And he's just too dangerous a prospect with that extraordinary height advantage. Nice corner in, and he breaks his duck on debut on his first visit to his new home country.
Graham Arnold, a big fan of Big Harry. Told us pre-game that Suter grew up with posters of Socceroos on his wall. I wonder if one of them was Kevin Muscat.
Doubt it very much, Simon.
But you never know. Already the game looks well out of sight for Nepal. 3 goals on the scoreboard, 72% possession for Australia, 10 shots already.
And at least as many ricochets besides.
And here's probably the most telling stat, 188 passes completed for Australia, just 49 for Nepal. But at least they're in a good field position here. Ranjit's throw for Anjan Bista. Another ricochet favours Sujal Shrestha, but he's run out of real estate. Moy also played a part, and that's a big win over Spurs in the Premier League, along with teammate Matt Ryan for Brighton. Milligan, classy release for Goodwin. Behind him is Bajic. Milligan available again. Ryan Grant is bombing forward down the right, unmarked. Craig Goodwin gets the head up, tries to pick out either Leckie or Grant. And there's an acrobatic punch away from Kiran Chenjong. And now Nepal will look to counter, but Harry Souttar's got that one covered, you'd fancy. Moy. It's good stickability, if that's the word, from Anjan Bista. Showing willing to roll up the sleeves. Well, he's got short sleeves on, but you know what I mean.
Well, he'll be able to look back at the end of this game and say, I beat a Premier League player one-on-one. And Aaron Moy no less. Still, in my opinion, one of the most talented players, even at that exalted level.
Moy involved again. Irvine about to pull the trigger. It's a good challenge, in fact, from Ananta Tamang, who's maybe hurt himself in the process. Has to get back focused quickly. Ball lofted into the air. Goalkeeper Kiran is out to claim safely this time. Those early moments involving Kiran Chenjong, their captain no less, probably didn't do much to steady the nerves of Johan Carlin. There might have been 2 goals down before the first one went in from McLaren.
Well, that's his first clean take, Simon. It's a good point you raised, because he's the most experienced player in the team, not just the captain. 60 caps, and it's a very young team, this Nepal team. It's your elder statesman to whom you look to settle the nerves, and of course he found the opening exchanges a little bit too much. And that was a very clean take on the back of that diving punch pass, if I can call it that way. I call it that. Very effective goalkeeping from him, but it's taken a while for him to find his mojo.
Well, the high ball into the box is allegedly his big weakness, so Socceroos obviously did their homework. Here's Moy. Don't fancy a dig here. Disguised ball instead. Beautifully done. Bajic. And it's that man, Ananta Tamang, again to the rescue for Nepal.
It'll be interesting to see how Nepal set up here. The majority of the corners so far have all been in-swingers from Australia, identifying, putting the ball into areas, and they've zoned throughout the first corners and been punished a couple of times. And it'll be interesting to see how they set up here.
Bajic not offside, as you saw from that replay. Moy's delivery drops for Souttar, but the whistle has gone. Relief for Nepal.
Yeah, I think a handball there. Before it got to the corner, Aziz Bajic with a good raid up the left-hand side. This is the resultant corner, and it's a handball there on Bailey Wright, well picked up by the ref. But Aziz had a fantastic opportunity, rather than playing the ball square into the 6-yard box, to cut it back to Jackson Irvine, who's run into the penalty area, and his prop was perfect. And Aziz just didn't quite see it. Well, these are the solutions when we get further down the track that the likes of Aziz, Kevin, are going to have to find and mix things up with their delivery.
Yeah, and it's clear to see as well that the fact that the fullbacks in Bajic and Grant are getting forward, what that does allow is us to get a lot of Australia to get a lot of bodies into the box, because all of a sudden Goodwin, McLaren, Leckie and Irvine at times, and even Moy get into the box for those crosses.
Square by Milligan. To Harry Sutar. Never mind his height, he's probably feeling about 10 feet tall at the moment after scoring on international debut. Moy. Australia get moving immediately. Ryan Grant's trying to chest it down into the path of Lecky. Not quite. Devendra Tamang swept it away. Off the head of Wright. Touch back by Lecky. Disguised pass by Moy. Good work in tight spaces by Matthew Lecky. Bayich will continue his run. Moy just clipped the ball up and onto the hand of his opponent, Bishal Wright. Free kick. Irvine leaves it for Goodwin. Bayich. At times they just have too many options, Australia. And they found the gap for Moy. He's dragged down on the edge of the box. Another free kick, easy decision.
Yeah, this is starting to look particularly worrying. So Nepal have been set up. They're covering spaces reasonably well. Their links to each other's teammates defensively are good. The coaches set them out nicely, but individually now they're lacking that intensity. Australia making unchallenged progress right up the field. Plenty of space starting to be found, or gifted really, right around the penalty area. And I'll get in before you, Simon. There's a potential avalanche awaiting.
Boom. I wonder if Aaron Moy fancies this.
That's 2-1 to me.
Yeah, you're winning. Aaron Moy, and the wall did its job. Flicked up and over, another corner.
Well, do we have, and if we don't, we should start keeping them, stats for ricochets? This is double figures at least. Good defensive wall, credit to it. Leapt in unison, glanced the ball over.
Sutar waiting again in a good position. Moy's delivery. And it'll pop for Milligan, who somehow finds a gap. And the goalkeeper just hits him, I think. Kirat, he's grateful it did. Came through a whole crowd of players.
But that was a better defensive set. Firstly, from the defensive wall, commented on that. Then Rohit does excellently to clear the ball. Milligan does brilliantly to make space. And this is really soft handwork from the goalkeeper. That's bounced off another metre in the opening 2 minutes. But he's really found himself now, thankfully, for the sake of the contest, the Nepal keeper and captain.
He was the I-League goalkeeper of the year back in 17-18. Kiran Chemjong. So he's got a bit of pedigree. Here's Lecky being pursued by Sujal Shrestha. They work it back through Milligan. Grant always available. Clips it up in the air. Could be another chance of offside against Craig Goodwin. Wouldn't have counted.
Well, this has worked beautifully, and this is a part of Ryan Grant's game that doesn't get enough comment. The quality of the touch. Firstly, made the space beautifully. That is a delightful pass. Jackson Irvine was the man offside, correctly adjudged as such by the assistant, and interfered with play by jumping at the ball there. Craig Goodwin was legal, but it was Jackson Irvine who was offside. But excellent work. Beautiful touch on that. Delivery from Ryan Grant. Outstanding work.
Good pick-up, Harps. Grant has beaten McLaren. Nepal will be looking at the clock and thinking if we can get through to half-time, perhaps without further damage, we can reset. It has been one-way traffic. Nepal yet to register a single shot.
Kevin, I'll ask you this question. And Australian teams don't face the same physical athletic gulf between us and our opponent's national team or club. I'm thinking now particularly through Champions League experience. However, when you get a sec.
Here's Bajic, nutmegs the defender, looking for McLaren. Good take again by Kieran. He is growing into the game.
I think this is another example of Aziz making great ground. And he has options rather than across the line of the penalty area to cut it back to oncoming midfielders. But he attacks with great instinct, Aziz Bajic. Now he's just got to get, the team has to get him to find a better end product, because you look at the queue of gold shirts around the penalty area. So Kevin, I'll just get back to you on that. On the times in Champions League matches when you're up against, say, the Japanese clubs, fantastic Korean athletes, Japanese athletes, how do you address that, which is Nepal's issue at the moment from the bench?
Yeah, you're probably right.
You'll get your thoughts in a minute, Muskie, because Australia building another attack. Good win, headed away by Ananta Tamang. On you go, Muskie.
You're right. The gulf between us travelling across in the Champions League is not as big as what we're witnessing tonight, without doubt. But particularly away from home with the different conditions, and the key is what you're trying to. What you try to eliminate that by is having more possession, and that's something that we've clearly got here tonight, is an abundance of possession. And going forward, when we're playing against better teams, the emphasis has got to be to remain or to keep that type of possession, because as we've seen tonight, I mean, Nepal have dropped off 20-30 yards further than they did in the first 5 minutes after their first goal. So, you're trying to negate it by, firstly keeping more possession.
Kieran's got to be quick here. He'll be best advised to get it out of play, which Ranjit does.
Yeah, so mainly that possession harps is 9/10, and I think that the further you go up and the harder teams that you play against, we don't look to that possession as valuable as it is clearly here tonight for us.
Missed time by Milligan, and Jan Bista felt the full weight of this. National hero after scoring those 2 goals against Chinese Taipei in the last qualifier. Plays for the Manang Marshangdi club, who are the champions of Nepal. That's Bista. A competition that only just restarted last year after a 5-year hiatus.
I was just going to chime in with that, Simon, and you'd reported that, and it's of course widely reported, but that's part of the context for tonight. The bulk, 99% of these players, are ensconced in their domestic league, and it's been completely on again, off again, mostly off again recently. So to prepare a national team from that backdrop, very, very difficult assignment. That they're at all competitive is a credit to them.
It's perhaps why Anyan Bista earns a bit of extra money. There he is on the ball, rather casually so, as a singer.
Well, I was going to say, he's like Nepal's Joey C. Is he going to take leave of absence and go and start a rap career in Nepal?
You never know. Joey C will not feature in the new A-League season, which of course kicks off tomorrow night in Adelaide. Adelaide United against Sydney, the cup holders against the champions. Can't wait for the new campaign. It's going to be a great season. Good touch and turn by Goodwin. He's seen a lot of the ball. Advantage played. Goodwin again with the cutback, looking for Leckie. Might still drop for him. Only partly away. Milligan drove it straight into Devendra Tamang. Australia buzzing around the box again. A slip by Leckie. Moy thumps it goalwards. Bishal Rai got the full brunt of that one and has remained down inside the penalty area. Might have even got it full on the noggin, I think. Bishal Rai, but Australia were just peppering the Nepal goal there.
Well, the Aussies pumped a couple of heavy hits into the penalty area. Milligan doesn't muck around. I mean, there's not many more pure strikers of football than Mark Milligan. And speaking of, it's probably Aaron Moy. And that is a fuzzball, that one. His head will be ringing. This, for me, is a concern. Due concern being shown by the match officials and the medical staff.
A real bell ringer, Robbie Slater, down on the pitch side.
Yeah, look, that one hurts, especially when it's cold. Look, he's obviously not feeling as cold as us, particularly me with my two big toes frozen down here at pitch side. But look, hit from that range, we know how hard Aaron Moy can strike a ball. That certainly would have the medical staff worried. But just something I've noticed in the last few minutes is they're starting to find a few players in the space. Most of the game it's been wingers tucking in, Ryan Grant as his badge. That's continuing, but just before, and when you get the ball in between the lines, the ability to turn and then eliminate a defensive midfielder really opens it up and cause that little flurry there, which ended with that fierce drive from Aaron Moy.
Thanks, Robbie. 6 of Australia's 14 shots have been blocked. Unfortunately, they're still searching for the ricochet stats, Harps, but I'm sure that's up near double figures. Here's a chance for Nepal. Hear their fans roar whenever they get over halfway. Sujal Shrestha on the ball. Ranjit in advance of him. Can they at least fashion an opportunity? Imagine the noise here if they scored. Rohit Chand. No way through. They win it back through Ananta Tamang. Now with Dinesh Razbansi. Looking for the ball over the top, and it has to be pretty accurate to get over the top of Harry Suter. Abhishek Rizal appealing forlornly for a foul, which the referee was never likely to give. An order is quickly restored. It's Jackson Irvine with space and time. Nepal back in numbers now. Aaron Moy to drive edge of the box. Never really looked likely.
Well, he should fancy himself tonight, Aaron Moy. Wonderful conditions to play on just a beautiful surface. And he's going to get plenty of opportunity like this. And why not fire away? It's such a key for the Australian team. Not just tonight, but throughout what we're hoping is a successful campaign for Graham Arnold.
Just on Graham Arnold, Kevin. Obviously a game in Chinese Taipei to come in a few days' time. Second half, you think you might be looking at a few of his key players and thinking, right, OK, game's won. Time to have a breather and get yourself set up for Tuesday.
He'd have a plan in place about who's not going to be playing on Tuesday in the next game, and that'll affect, obviously, who comes off and who stays on in the second half here tonight.
There's the Australian bench. Look a bit chilly, don't they? Dimi Petratos, a late call-up due to the injury to Massimo Luongo. Brandon Borrello hoping for another opportunity. Here's Goodwin, who's replaced him on that left flank tonight. Back through Moy. And the intervention by Anjan Bista, who will carry it forward. It's a good chase back by Leckie.
Mate, he's just monstered by Matthew Leckie, which is no disgrace on Anjan Bista. Leckie is a fearsome athlete, but he just chewed him up.
Passes continue to rack up for Australia. They're almost up around the 350 mark. Milligan. This guy's to the byline for Bajic, looking to hang it up to that back post. Really wrapped his boot around it. Disappointing from Aziz Bajic.
Well, the good news is he did deliver one cross which resulted in the Jamie McLaren goal. Found Ryan Grant, who's headed square back across for Jamie McLaren, but otherwise this is a real area marked for improvement for Aziz.
Busy team talk, you'd fancy, coming up for Johan Carlin.
He was saying pre-game that the bulk of his coaching career is in coach education. And certainly loving the opportunity of being in the hot seat again against the likes of Australia.
Here's a chance. Oh, I guess we count that as a shot from Abhishek Rizal. Tame as it was. But why not, Andy? Chance to cover yourself in glory if he catches it right. Be a national hero. Fortunately for him, he didn't. And Australia had one more before the break. They were 3-0 up, you'll remember, against Kuwait at the interval. To 1 additional minute at the end of the first half. A chance for you to give us your summary. It's been pretty much one-way traffic.
It has,
Andy.
and given that the Socceroos have grown into the half, you know, well.
Could be another one here. Jackson Irvine, little slip by Ranjit, he recovered well.
It's one of those games where, you know, you've got everything to lose, really, because everyone expects plenty of goals and plenty of efforts on goal. And Graham Arnold, I think, given the circumstances, will be reasonably happy.
Here's Lecky, deflection, it's 4! Oh, hang on, flag's up. Flag's up, it's not going to count. Matthew Lecky thought he'd given the Socceroos a 4-0 lead. The referee is taking counsel from his linesman. There was a deflection on the way through. The flag popped up immediately, and the referee blew his whistle.
Interesting replay this one's going to be, because the deflection was clearly from a Nepal player. It's an own goal. It should stand.
Should be 4. Well, that's national capital. The home fans have been well entertained. As we get the second half underway, no doubt they want to see a few more goals to boost that goal difference. Even despite the relative lack of quality of the opposition, goal difference could still be important. Of course, after Chinese Taipei, Andy, they've got that big game in Jordan, who have caused Australia lots of problems in the past.
Yeah, that's the big game of this group stage for sure. Jordan away. And the Socceroos can be well pleased with that first half, but if they were to take a straw poll of the 16 or 17,000 at the stadium tonight and the tens of thousands around the country watching, it will be, more goals, but let's get some variety. Let's show that we can mix it up. Let's find some players who can beat a man one-on-one. Let's shoot from range and hopefully miss defenders, because they've blocked plenty. You sound like you're being fussy, perhaps, but I'm sure this is what people watching are seeing. If this is a test, Kevin, that maybe the Socceroos can pass in this second half.
And at the same time, Harps, it's a completely valid point. But watching the team play now, there's clearly there's clear instructions on the type of attacks that we're trying to create, the type of goal we're trying to score, which is just as important. But you're right, finding that different way is important.
Lecky looking to stretch the legs down the right. It's going to be a goal kick. Last touch off Lecky. He can't quite believe that. He couldn't believe that he didn't have a goal to his name as well in stoppage time in the first half. We're still of the mind, gentlemen, that was the incorrect decision.
No, there's no doubt it was an incorrect decision. That was good coverage provided by Devendra Tamang. It's a thankless task, chasing Matthew Lecky up and down the field. He did it well. Tellingly, though, of the two players, one got to their feet pretty quickly. He's taking in some big ones. It was Devendra Tamang.
This is Ravi Paswan, who links up with Rohit Chan, but they're heading in the wrong direction, Nepal. And Anant Tamang has given his goalkeeper a problem as well. Kieran deals with it quite nicely. And Lecky loses out, so too does Rohit Chan. Australia back on the front foot again. It's Jackson Irvine. Well, that was troubling, unfortunately, for the whole City midfielder. Not quite in the right direction.
No, and a favourable ricochet for a change for the Socceroos. Good combination. And Jackson Irvine never needs a second invitation to have an effort on goal. He's a very dangerous player, and he makes good contact there.
Tell you what, he was close as well. One in the air by Anjan Bista, but to no great effect for the Gorkhalis, as they're nicknamed. could perhaps do Australia a favour if they could produce a shock result in Jordan. Same night as Australia play in Chinese Taipei. Having to play their first 4 games of these qualifiers away from home, the Nepalese, because their stadium was badly damaged during the earthquake that tragically killed so many in 2015. And he's not quite ready to go. Harry Suter felt the full weight of that challenge from Abhishek Rizal. He's a tough guy, he's run it off, no problems. Ooh, there's another late one. This time from Bista. Referee Al-Khatiri just trying to settle things down a little bit. Here's the first one on Harry Suter.
Yeah, that's the refs want to have a chat. It was a stray leg for sure.
That was high, wasn't it? And here's the follow-up one. More genuine attempt to play the ball, but mistimed from Anjan Bista. Suter. Bajic. Not the best touch from McLaren. That's the problem for Nepal. Just really struggled to get out. It's a good steal on the blind side by Bishal Rai. Now a chance perhaps. Anjan Bista to play it to his left. Rohit Chand to float it forwards. And they're going to get a corner. Nepal. Well, that should bring their fans to life. Listen to this noise around the stadium. Their first corner of the game. They think they've perhaps won the World Cup. Brilliant.
They've started this second half with plenty of energy. And Soccer is finding it difficult, more difficult than they did in the first, to get that settled, controlled possession. He's been a key. Bishal. Very, very accomplished player in a different set of circumstances with a stronger team. The likes of Bishal would really cause some trouble. Very good technician. Let's see what he can do with this corner.
They're not going to have any great height advantage if they go aerially, which Bishal Rai looks as though he's about to do. Referee wants to speak to Abhishek Rizal. Just tell him to stop impeding Ryan Grant, and the goalkeeper Matt Ryan, who might just have a bit of work to do here. Bishal Rai's corner off the head of Milligan. Moyes header went the wrong way, but Goodwin will complete the tidy up. Just a little bit of encouragement for Johan Karlin's side. Devendra Tamang, it's a good challenge. Showed a bit of grit, the Gorkhalis. Here's Ravi Paswan. Now with Anjan Bista, looks to launch it inside the box. And Matt Ryan finally has to do some work.
Not really seeing much of a future in that approach play. But again, they won the ball back with great intensity in midfield.
Goodwin, meantime, at the other end of the pitch. Jackson Irvine thought about the shot. Plays him Leckie instead. Behind him is Grant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the box for Australia. Patient build-up. Step over from Moy. Leckie. Ryan Grant. And the goalkeeper Kieran to claim.
Just with that there, Simon, when we are getting the ball in that final third, being in the box, as you mentioned there, is vitally important, but arriving in the box has far greater importance. Arriving late so you're not marked rather than being in there waiting certainly helps anyone delivering the ball.
Timing your runs. Australia have got good weapons in that regard, haven't they? Not just from set pieces with Suter, but Jackson Irvine more than handy in the air as well. Matt Leckie, I seem to remember, has scored the odd one off the noggin as well. Changes a foot, perhaps. Postelos Yanu. Just taking a stroll down the touchline prior to some limbering up exercises, perhaps. There are 2 or 3 Australian subs already going through their routines.
Yeah, well, Awema Bill is one of them. And just doing a quick walk around the stadium at half-time and before, there is an extraordinary number of Sudanese of the Sudanese community here watching the game tonight.
Dinesh has lost out, but Irvine and Goodwin are on the same wavelength.
And his inclusion in the game, if that's to happen, will get as big a cheer as the Nepalese are getting. Really noticeable.
Lovely touch by Irvine. Goodwin. McLaren on the hat-trick, of course, waiting in the middle. Doesn't arrive. Grant to try and reset all the way back through Bailey Wright. I think Matt Ryan's had more touches in this opening 10 minutes of the second half than he had in the entirety of the first. Kept in play intelligently by Grant. And Moyes too strong for his defender. Waiting back post is Craig Goodwin. Good save. Kieran Chemjong to deny Australia a fourth goal. And Craig Goodwin his first at international level.
Well, it's terrific bounce from Ryan Grant to the on-charging Aaron Moy, who puts it right on the spot. Good contact from Goodwin. The angle's not that friendly. It's a great chance Australia should have scored, there's no doubt. But the angle wasn't that friendly for Craig Goodwin. Keeper had it all covered on the near post.
And he wants to enjoy the moment a bit longer, I think, Kieran, because he's just dropped down after barking instructions to his teammates following that save. He now wants a bit of attention. Chance to bring in Kevin Muscat again. Muscat, interested in your thoughts. Obviously, we're 10 minutes into the second half now. If you're Johan Carlin and you've watched that first 45 minutes, you're 3 goals down, could have been 5-6, let's be honest. What's your team talk? What do you say?
I found myself in that position not so long ago.
I didn't want to bring that up, Muscat.
But so obviously, you don't say what I said on that evening or afternoon. But look, I think from his perspective as well, he sensed as that half wore on that they were deteriorating physically. So, you know, they've started the half again. They seem to be having a go and trying to press, and, you know, they've forced a few attacks into the Australian half. But as the half goes on, the reality will set in that they just can't compete physically. So it'll revert back to, as the half goes on, they'll drop deeper and deeper. And, you know, how much can he do to prevent that? Not too much at all.
Lots of happy Nepalese fans, despite the scoreline. Kieran, a goalkeeper, one of the real superstars of this team. I'm told he's only the 5th Nepalese goalkeeper ever to own a car. And that's how little they get paid for playing football in Nepal. Most of them are semi-pro.
Well, I meant to do the foreign exchange conversion, but I think it's 10,000 rupees a month. So
what's that in Aussie dollars?
I was just going to say, he wasn't quick enough to do that conversion, but I'm sure people at home, I've just had in my ear it's about 130 Aussie dollars a month. Well, you're not going to buy a clutch of Bentleys and glittering watches on that, if you take my point.
But it shows the difference, doesn't it?
Completely. But what I will say is that part of, just going off your discussion with Kevin, part of the chat from the coach would have been, you know what, if you put a little bit more pressure, there were 2 or 3 examples where very good players, I referred to one of them, you took the ball off Aaron Moore, and believe that you can cut and paste moments like that through the second half to start the second half. They're way more boisterous in the challenges here. It's been a feature of the second half. The expectation, the likelihood is that they're not going to be able to last the distance, but I'm sure the coach said, mate, whilst we're still in it, stand up for yourselves. They've just got 2 legs and a beating heart the same as you. Make them get past you. Don't give it to them.
Show that Gurkha spirit. Oh, a proud fighting nation, Nepal. Not in the same class technically as the Australians, but doing the nation proud at the moment. Here's Leckie inside the box. McLaren just looking to side-foot it home for his hat-trick. Took a touch on the way through. It will be an Australian corner, might have been more.
It was a nice build-up again. And there's a look at the queue. Square of free players. Goodwin was running through. Jackson Irvine again. You have to suggest that maybe they were better options than Jamie McLaren on that moment.
Aaron Moy to hang it up. Suter, oh, deflected in. It is a fourth goal this time. It's got in off Dinesh Razbansi. Suter accepts the congratulations, but I'm pretty sure that will go down as an own goal. Or maybe he will claim it, the big lad. It's some debut, whatever the case, and Australia have extended their lead to 4.
Well, again, the short one to take the attention away from Suter, but it's not enough because in the end he wins the ball uncontested. It's not the most convincing header, let's face it. But the deflection goes the way of the Socceroos. Plenty didn't in the first half. But this time, off Dinesh, it goes into the Nepal goal.
Just as Nepal were finding a little bit of belief, Australia extend their lead, and Apostolos Yadu is being readied as perhaps the first substitution of the night. McLaren, if he's to be the man to make way, will want his hat-trick before that change is made. He would be the natural swap.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that, you know, brings more focus to aerial delivery into the box, Kevin, because of Yanu's height. But of the 4 goals scored, 3 have come from the head of Australians.
Yeah, and you picked up on the first 10 minutes of this second half. You know, the flip side to your question, Simon, you know, the Australian team talk, you know, would have been on the lines, let's remain disciplined, let's keep progressing in our processes. And we've started relatively sloppy. We've got that goal off another set piece, but we've started relatively sloppy from that perspective.
Maybe that goal will just refocus the Australians. Milligan. Touched by McLaren, wasn't the surest, but it's found Leckie. Threads the needle, finds Bayic, Australia in behind, Kieran puts it away, and Jackson Irvine just can't score for love nor money tonight. He's had a few opportunities, and again he's denied.
Well, couldn't quite cut that one back enough. Maybe that's a more difficult one. Jackson Irvine close. A week on the training field with Gertrude Verbeek at Adelaide United will pass his Bake, I reckon. Beige, because they just keep cutting him back. Adelaide United, as we saw in the Cup semi-final.
First change for Australia, Aaron Moy withdrawn, Apostolos Yanu thrown on. So, maybe a change of shape. He will no doubt play alongside McLaren up top. Meantime, Leckie into the penalty area, thump clear by Nepal. Let's briefly go down to Robbie Slater, who's been listening into Graham Arnold's words of wisdom. Robbie?
Yeah, well, he's changed the system, so he's gone with 2 9s and dropped Jackson Irvine back beside Milligan, but he definitely wants the wide players to drop into those pockets. And the big message from him, and he's up, and as soon as the ball goes backwards, he's livid. He wants them to drive forward. He wants everything to go forward.
Doesn't look too happy at the moment, Robbie. You know him better than most. Is he happy with this performance?
He's not happy, I've told you.
Thank you.
So, Kevin, that just calibrating that change to put the extra centre forward in is an assessment that we're just one body short for those crosses.
And as we've seen it earlier, it shouldn't have been the case, and maybe that's why Arnie's changed it, because it shouldn't have been the case with Irvine and Moy making the extra 2 plays. We should have actually, you know, had them driving the box. To their credit, they have been.
Irvine, McLaren trying to stretch. It came off Ananta Tamang and into the grateful gloves of the goalkeeper.
To their credit, Harps, they have been making runs, getting into the box, but all the delivery has gone towards McLaren, and hardly any deliveries come back to the penalty spot, if you like, for them to pick up balls and side-foot them into the net.
Last Australian to score a hat-trick at international level, Mila Jedinak against Honduras. in that two-legged playoff, second leg in Sydney. Jamie McLaren has the chance to do that.
And is Harry Suter the second Scots Australian to score on debut after Martin Boyle in Brisbane.
Yeah. Might be one or two more down the years, you'd fancy. Brother John plays for Scotland and for Hearts at club level. Going to be a quiz question in future years, isn't he? Along with the Boatengs, Kevin Prince and Jerome, who played for different nations. Garda of Germany. Nepal are going to make a change, and Johan Kalin has reached for his biggest star off the bench, Bimal Gartimaga. Pacey left-footed striker. Meantime, they've got a problem with Anjan Bistra, who's gone down with an injury. Australia perhaps pondering whether to put the ball out. They've opted not to. Don't have to, of course. Bistra's back on his feet. Irvine gets it out to Grant. Milligan. Quick, crisp passing by Australia. Leckie finds the gap. Grant, they're queuing up in the middle. Craig Goodwin on his wrong foot. Way over the top.
Well, we got one. I've been calling for it for most of the game, and Ryan Grant delivered. This is the alternative. This is the option that Australia hasn't utilised enough. And Ryan Grant, the beautiful execution of that cutback pass. Unfortunately, it was to Craig Goodwin's right foot rather than perhaps his left.
So here's that change. Abhishek Rizal is withdrawn, and the big roar is for Bimal Gartimaga. Just 21. Plays his club football in the Maldives with the TC Sports Club. The youngest Nepalese debutant ever at just 14. And he actually had a couple of stints in Europe. He once scored 4 goals in a trial game for Twente Enschede back in 2013, and also had a spell training with the Anderlecht under-16 squad and Genk as well. So he's got a little bit of pedigree, particularly by Nepalese standards.
Well, 4 goals in a trial game is normally enough to secure a contract.
Visa issues.
Well, there you go. Surely they knew that before they'd invited him for the trial.
Oh.
Funny old world sometimes. Players have been signed sight unseen for less than that.
Here's Craig Goodwin. Might think about a strike here. Still waiting for his first international goal, just his 5th cap tonight.
And by my reckoning, that's the first shot from distance in the second half. There were a sequence of them in the first half, but we haven't taken aim from distance. Jackson Irvine had one off that ricochet scenario on the edge of the box with his right foot, but we haven't set up a shooting chance and seen someone take it in this second half until Craig Goodwin.
Now playing in Saudi, of course, with Al Wada after a stellar campaign with Adelaide United last year. Here's Milligan. That's the return off Bajic. Leckie had so much time. Nepal perhaps beginning to tire. Oh dear. Dinesh perhaps angered by the fact he scored an own goal tonight. Has thumped that right into the midriff of Aziz Bajic. And he felt that one. There's a crowd figure, 18,563, boosted by several thousand cheering on Nepal. And they had a good time by the looks of it, despite the scoreline. You'd hope that love of football, particularly in Western Sydney, is being tapped into by the A-League clubs. Here's Ravi Paswan. Nothing to worry, Matt Ryan. Just on the Australian Nepalese links, Andy, interesting to note that Gary Phillips, former NSL title-winning coach with Sydney Olympic back in the day, has just been appointed technical director of Nepal.
Yeah. And, you know, the backstory to Gary Phillips makes that appointment even more remarkable. As a teenager, he had to choose between surfing and football because he was a national level, like an Australian champion board rider.
I knew he looked like a surfy dude.
So he picked football, and now he ends up in a landlocked country with the biggest mountains in the world. What's he going to surf? The melt?
He'll find a way.
He'll be flying home pretty regularly. Or he'll be volunteering for the trips to the Maldives. I'll give you that tip.
He's a good fellow, is Gary. Wish him all the best with that appointment. Partly funded by the AFC, their development programs. We're going to get another change for Australia shortly. And we're going to get a look at Aiden Hrustic. We haven't seen him since he made his one and only appearance for Australia against Brazil back in June 2017.
And of course, the recently departed Rudy Guddendorf moved to Nepal after his stint with the Socceroos.
It's a well-trodden path. Here's Goodwin. Irvine slides it into the path of Bajic. Here's that change for Australia. And Craig Goodwin, who had a few opportunities tonight, Kevin Muscat, is withdrawn in favour of Aiden Hrustic.
Yeah, another substitution. And what's been interesting since the earlier substitution for Australia was we've effectively taken a midfielder out of that in Moy from those zones and had another striker. And what it has created is one less option for us to hit when we're building up and coming throughout our defence into that midfield area. In that having two strikers, it has affected the flow to our game a little bit.
Good pickup. See what Aiden Hrustic offers. 23-year-old who plays with Groningen in the Netherlands, and whose best friend in football is Leroy Sane at Manchester City. Here's the other sub, Apostolos Yanu, and Bajic to clip it up. And Yanu just couldn't get the connection he wanted.
And with Hrustic on, Matthew Leckie's deployed more centrally as Yanu picking the ball up and going again. I like the look of Apostolos Yanu, Kevin. I'd like to see... He's only getting scraps in the national team. He's clearly, at the moment, down the pecking order. Doesn't fit that poacher type Gerd Muller. I'm invoking a great name there, but you understand the point I'm making. Would you like to see him with more game time? Well,
and these are the games, and Harps, we don't know what Graham's planning for the next game, but these are the type of games where you'd like to see someone given more opportunity. McLaren, obviously Jamie's had that opportunity tonight and he's taken it. A little bit of variation, as we've been mentioning throughout, because all our chances and efforts on goal have come from crosses and crosses to the first striker in McLaren. So trying to find another way to create chances in these games where you can experiment is obviously important.
First little flashpoint involving Bimal Gartimaga. Clash of heads with Bailey Wright, and Wright was not that keen on the hand of friendship that was offered by way of apology from Gartimaga. It's been a game that's been played by and large in a good spirit. And mainly in Nepal's half of the pitch. Here's Milligan. Graham Arnold will just want a little bit more quality in the final third. They dropped off quite a bit against Kuwait. Very good the first 45. Kuwait, with respect to Nepal, are a better team than the Gorkhalis. Came back into things second period. Australia hunting more goals here. Hrustic with the corner. And the whistle's gone for an infringement.
Yeah, well, with 15 plus stoppages to go, playing at home against a team that bears by comparison, Graham Arnold would be understandably frustrated that they haven't threatened the goal more in this second half. It's going to be one of the talking points unless they can fly through the gears in the last 15 minutes. It will be a talking point. The 3 points never really in question.
Jackson Irvine has had one effort that's just shaved the post. Craig Goodwin flashed one wide, the own goal. But, after the break, that's been pretty much that. In terms of real pressure on Kieran Chemjong's goal. Maybe that's why Awo Mabil is being readied to add a little bit of zip down the flank. Meantime, a rare opportunity perhaps for Nepal, and one that they've horribly wasted. Not the best from Vishal Rai. There is the super speedy Awo Mabil. Looks as though he's even too quick for his hairdresser.
I know how he feels.
Chested down by Yanu. Lecky. Square by Irvine. Milligan out for Grant. Yanu in a good position. Not a great cutback though. Easily swept away by Rohit Chand. Australia wanted to make that third change then, but linesman a little slow to attract the referee's attention. Awo Mabil has to wait a moment or two more. Lucky pursued by Ranjit. Back through right. Stab at the outside of the boot, which never really looked likely to come off. And Nepal standing firm at the moment. Here's Frustic. Lecky. Milligan wanted it played square. He's in a good position as well. Totally unmarked. Still is. They go for the cross instead, and Bajic is on the end of it, but headed away from goal rather than towards it. Back they come again. Aiden Frustic to try and place it. Easy take for Kieran.
Well, it's a shot outside the box. It forces a save. So I congratulate Aiden Frustic for that. It's been slightly heavy going for the Socceroos in the last few moments. And I'm sure the thinking, in part at least, behind an Awo Mabil is to get a player on with ball at feet who's keen to run at defenders, spark things up a little bit.
Well, you know he's going to do that. So let's see what the man from FC Midtjylland in Denmark can do. Matt Lackey, who should have had a goal to his name tonight, but wrongly ruled out in first half stoppage time, takes his leave. And on comes Awo Mabil. Twelfth cap for the Socceroo Flyer.
And a good performance from Matt Leckie, Kevin. He's just the article, isn't he? He's developed so well over the years and such a composed performer.
Yeah, and relatively probably underestimated the work and the crew he's having in Germany, and playing in a different position, obviously much further in advance on the field here, and enjoying it. You can tell that he's enjoying his football, particularly in his last two games for the national team.
So that's the Roos, 3 changes made. Adam Taggart, who you just saw on the sidelines, might get an opportunity against Chinese Taipei during the week. Meantime, second change for Nepal. And Anjan Bista, their 2-goal hero against Chinese Taipei, is going to be withdrawn. I was impressed with him first half. I thought he was probably close to Nepal's best player in a team that was really having to defend for most of the game.
Yeah, but it's hard. I would encourage people not to judge the likes of Anjan Bista in a team like Nepal, which is so heavily outgunned. Put him in a stronger organisation. He, Vishal Rai, and the substitute Bimal, the number 10, those three could really contribute to a team that has a greater stature, greater physical presence, greater tactical awareness, because they can play the game.
Here's Mabil. Remember, we say that a lot about Thailand's two best players, don't we? Tirasin and Shanatip. Put them in a good team. Wow, that looked good. Here's Mabil. He does look good. And Irvine trying to get on the end of it. McLaren was there too.
Well, it's starting to get in each other's way, but you know, that little bit of difference from Owen Mabil, just that one-on-one ability. He just squares up, get the ball in between his feet, and then past the defender. Makes the space, delivers the ball. And you would prefer, Kevin, the midfielder coming through to finish that one rather than a striker peeling away from goal.
Speaks to your point earlier, Muskie, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there was quite a few bodies in the box there, but once again it was, you know, people trying to score from static positions, and it's easy to be marked once you're static. Arriving in the box gives you a greater chance of getting more purchase on the ball.
Here's Mabil popping up on the left flank now, weaving away from Paswan, and Bishal Rai wanted to do it all himself. That would have been some goal. But he's added something already off the bench, our Mabil. Was a naughty boy a couple of weeks ago, got a red card against Midtjylland's big rivals for the Danish Championship, FC Copenhagen. It's not like Owen, he's such a mild-mannered guy normally, isn't he?
Well, he has had some flash, I recall a couple of flash moments in the A-League, so he's got a very competitive edge to him.
Gartimaga, useful ball, but Grant had it covered.
Without which, of course, players can't cut their way through to the top of the game.
Here he goes again. It's in stereo, that hurt.
2 Ronnies. Good night from me.
Oh dear. Last 10 minutes. It's been a comfortable night for Australia. They want more goals. Are they going to get one here? Might have just flicked off the arm, that, of Devendra Tamang. No real appeals from the Australians. Ranjit able to clear. Return with interest by Bailey Wright. Anywhere will do for Ravi Paswan. Ravi Paswan is a right winger by trade, but he's helping out his right fullback more often than not. It's been that sort of game for Nepal. The supporters continue to do a conga line around the stadium here in Canberra. Meantime, Mabil inside the box. And Nepal got back in time and in enough numbers to close the gaps. Breaks here for Bajic. Top of the box is Apostolos Yanu. Charged down by Rohit, and disguised pass by Milligan. Didn't quite come off, and Nepal could have a break on here. Needed to release earlier. Did Bimal Gartimaga.
Well, that's excellent defensive midfield work from Jackson Irvine, who, because of the way the ball broke, Kevin, was on the wrong side of the play. He was made the ground beautifully, and that's what you need your defensive midfielders to do, round that centre circle to tidy up those breakaways.
And since the change that we spoke about earlier, he's been deployed obviously alongside Millsy, and he's had far less influence on the game, whilst obviously doing his job in there.
Still just the one second half goal for Graham Arnold's team. Could have an own goal. It's blatant holding by Ranjit against Aiden Krustic, and finally the referee's patience has run out. First yellow card of the night.
With a welcome bit of innovation this from Krustic. Uses his body well to get the ball on the ground, and then let's have a go at something. Beautiful little shimmy. That was superb bit of work. We need more of those ingredients in the final third. You're going to break up defenders, defensive organisations and get individual defenders starting to think about their assignment one-on-one with an attacker whom they're not sure if they're going to pass it or dribble past them. At the moment, they're pretty comfortable that Nozzie's going to pass it.
Well, set pieces have provided plenty of opportunities for Australia tonight. They've scored from 1 or 2 of them. See if they can add to their tally here. Rustic to deliver. And Suter was on the end of it again.
Well, that was the hat-trick moment. Great contact.
Let's go down to Robbie Slater, his pitch side, get his view of that latest opportunity and the way things are going for Australia.
Well, you look at Harry Suter and you're just thinking, well, you've got to hit the target from there, and if he probably does, he scores. But look, I think the second half, look, I think Nepal have just made the decision that, look, if they open up too much there, you know, they're going to concede a lot of goals. So they've just been solid. Back 4 at times, even a midfielder dropping in to make 5. If it's not 5 and 3 and 1, it's 2 banks of 4. And look, the Socceroos have struggled to move the ball quick enough and lacked a little bit of inspiration, that individual quality, you know, to break them down. They've been very comfortable, of course, but Graham Arnold has not looked unhappy, but he's been frustrated. He wants them to drive forward. He wants them to always play forward. And he feels that, you know, he feels very frustrated that they probably haven't got more goals than what they have.
Still time, although not too much of it, just over 5 minutes. Square by Bajic for Milligan, helped on by Rustic. Nice movement this, McLaren sniffing the hat-trick, might break for Mobile, across the face, and still it won't go in for Australia. Grant wins it back. Yanu, so many bodies in the way. Rustic to turn and drive again. Oh, he's just bundled over. I think more through tiredness than anything else. Well, he shouldn't be, because he's the substitute. Tez Tamang. Tired, that is. Third change for Nepal. Vishal Rai. He's going to be brought to the sidelines, and he's going to be replaced by another Tamang. That's 4 we're going to have on the pitch now. This is Santos Tamang. Defensive midfielders. Johan Kalin tries to plug some of those gaps and keep the scoreline respectable. A free kick given away by one of his other changes gives Australia another opportunity. One of the things I like about Rustic is he's demanded the ball, including from this set piece. And his second international. But he wants to take the responsibility on his shoulders. Rebounds back off the wall. Rustic again, seeking to make amends. Milligan. Another foul. Again, similar sort of position, other side of the D. This time by Rohit Chand.
Well, Rustic would fancy himself again. It's on the wrong side of the penalty area for him. You'd fancy clear free kick. Rustic has been impressive off the bench. I'd say he's had 4 or 5 opportunities with the ball. With 4 of them, he's made good. He can't do much else than come off the bench and have a conversion rate like that. Mobile striding out. Mind having a crack from here.
Yeah, he's pulled rank, hasn't he? Mobile.
Pulled rank on the skipper. An insurrection.
Well, certainly on Rustic. Let's see what Mobile can do. Looking for the Cristiano Ronaldo, but you could hear from the yelp of frustration. He knew it wasn't right the moment he left the boot.
Well, again, the appetite off the bench, and you can question maybe some of the execution or decisions, but the appetite off the bench to effect change to the game, which is sort of the byword for Mobile. He doesn't muck around. Every time I've seen him play, A-League or international, he has a go at doing something. Tries to break the status quo of the game. And for that, I applaud him.
Milligan lifting it over the top of Ravi Paswan for Bajic. That sort of sums up Australia's second half. Just not quite been up to muster. They go again through Hrustic. Mobile. And credit to Nepal as well. They have defended a lot better in this second half, albeit a lot deeper. Off the chest of Irvine. McLaren, is this the hat-trick? It is! The first Australian to score a hat-trick in almost 2 years since Miller Jedinak netted 3 against Honduras in that World Cup playoff. And it's a night to remember for Jamie McLaren. And it's 5-0.
Well, look at Milligan at the base of the attack here, and his sprayed passes around all night. But Jackson Irvine making the forward target, then dropping off the line. That's beautiful intuition to bounce that off his chest. Nicely timed run, good control, Jamie McLaren, and a really excellent finish. Ball bouncing away from goal, defender in close proximity. A friendly range, it's true, but he finished with aplomb.
All you can do is be there to finish those opportunities. Oh, wow, Bill staggering like a man who's been shot to the sidelines. He's got it in the you-know-where. That doesn't tickle. Arnie's having a wry smile, but he knows that hurts. Counter Mower. It's good to see Graham Arnold with a smile back on his face, at least. Overall, is he going to be happy with this performance?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think he'll be unhappy. Is not the word. Frustrated, definitely. I would suggest frustrated, because there are very obviously bigger tests down the path, and what will maybe a problem for the Socceroos is not their structure, not their discipline, not their tactics, the lack of imagination in the front third.
It's Bimal Gatimarga. Could there be consolation perhaps for Nepal at the end? Santosh Tharmang, and then slung into the box, hopefully by Ravi Paswan. Just catching practice for Ryan, which is pretty much all he's had all night. And we're almost into the final minutes of the 3 additional, as signalled by the 4th official. Time perhaps for one more. Hrustic. Milligan. Mobile with time to turn. Yanu. Bowled over, no foul. Milligan. First touch was a little bit heavy. Hrustic out for Grant on the right. They're queuing up in the penalty area. Nepal sat very deep. Mobile. They weave this way and that, trying to find an opening. Time almost up. In by Grant, firmly headed away by Rohit Chand. And Nepal will look to sprint forward with time almost up on the watch. Well, there we go. As expected,